Why did Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom break up after 9 years? Katy has not been the same person for over a year now, and Orlando has had enough. Perry in particular became the internet's punching bag for it, obviously, as we all saw. He told her the whole thing looked ridiculous.
Katy Perry in complete meltdown after Orlando Bloom destroyed her latest stunts. Orlando Bloom obliterated Katy Perry, and if you think this is just a typical celebrity spat, think again. It's the same kind of chaos that tore apart Jack Human's marriage. Yes, it all started with that infamous 11-minute space trip and spiraled further with her flop album, 143, despite Orlando's repeated warnings. Now, she's dealing with the fallout. But let's be clear, it's not Orlando's mess to clean up.
Imagine going to space, mother effing space, and your partner isn't impressed. She hoped he'd be more supportive.
Katy Perry is in a complete meltdown after nearly a decade-long love story with Orlando Bloom came crashing down. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a collapse of everything they had built together. From their dreamy beginnings in 2016 to welcoming their daughter in 2020, their relationship seemed like the stuff of Hollywood legends. But behind the glamorous facade, the cracks were already forming.
Are saying that Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom have split up. Now, it's certainly not a surprise in one sense. We've been hearing rumblings now for a long while.
Their love story began with fireworks, literally. Katy and Orlando first connected at a Golden Globes after-party, where their chemistry was instant. They quickly became inseparable, capturing hearts with their playful, flirty dynamic. By 2019, Orlando proposed on Valentine's Day with a dazzling flower-shaped ring, solidifying their place as one of Hollywood's favorite couples.
Perry and Bloom met in 2016, brief breakup in 2017, reconciled by 2018, got engaged in 2019, welcomed their daughter in 2020.
In 2020, their lives changed forever with the birth of their daughter, Daisy Dove. For Katy, motherhood was life-changing, and she spoke often about how Daisy gave her a new sense of purpose. Orlando, ever the proud dad, embraced family life, and for a while, they seemed to have it all. They were the perfect blend of domestic bliss and Hollywood glamour.
What you're doing is you're like really finding the love for yourself because you got to trust in yourself.
But even fairy tales have their dark sides. As their careers demanded more of their time, the cracks in their relationship grew wider. While Katy was navigating the pressures of the music industry, Orlando was off filming and embarking on daring projects. The balance that had once held them together began to tilt.
He wants her to be happy and he wants her to be authentic. He just wants her to stop and enjoy the life that she has built.
Beneath the glitz and glamour, cracks began to show. Orlando's laid-back, grounded persona clashed with Katy's larger-than-life ambitions. While their public appearances painted a picture of perfection, insiders claim that behind closed doors, tensions were simmering. Unmet expectations and clashing priorities slowly chipped away at their bond.
What I'm curious about in this video is what actually happened between Katy and Orlando.
And then came the bombshell. Their breakup in June 2025. It was a shock to fans, but those close to them say it had been brewing for months. What started as engagement goals quickly spiraled into a cautionary tale. A love story overshadowed by public missteps and personal frustrations. The truth lies somewhere in the chaos. Their split isn't just a celebrity scandal. It's a cautionary tale about the cost of fame and the fragility of love under the relentless spotlight. Katy and Orlando's love story may have ended, but the world's obsession with their downfall is far from over.
It imploded after singer made embarrassing journey into space. The couple's now sparring over who will attend the wedding of Jeff and Lauren. They were already on the rocks when Perry made the widely derided 11-minute space trip, which became a PR disaster.
One of the biggest catalysts in their downfall? Katy's infamous space trip. What was meant to be a bold, groundbreaking stunt turned into a PR nightmare. In 2024, Katy boarded a spacecraft for an 11-minute journey that was supposed to cement her legacy as a cultural trailblazer. Instead, it became the butt of countless jokes. Memes flooded the internet, headlines skewered her decision, and fans labeled the stunt as tone-deaf and unnecessary.
Well, new reports are alleging it's because Orlando kept warning her about her cringeworthy space flights and desperate attempts at promoting her new album.
But the most devastating blow came from Orlando himself. During a heated argument, he reportedly called the trip embarrassing, cringeworthy, and ridiculous. Those words hit Katy like a ton of bricks. She had hoped this grand gesture would reignite the spark in their relationship, but it had the opposite effect. Insiders say Katy was heartbroken. She wanted Orlando's support, but all she got was criticism.
It is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown, trust, and this whole journey is not just about going to space. It's the training, it's the team, it's the whole thing. I couldn't recommend this experience more.
The space trip became a symbol of their unraveling. For Orlando, it highlighted everything that was going wrong. For Katy, it was a painful reminder that even her most daring efforts couldn't bridge the growing gap between them. As the public ridicule mounted, Katy's emotional vulnerability became evident. She had gambled big on the stunt, and she lost, not just in the court of public opinion, but in her personal life as well.
Was constantly trying to warn her. And not only that about her bad moves, but also how she was using him, Orlando, to try to make this album a hit, which it never was.
But let's not forget Katy Perry's 143 album, a project that was supposed to mark her grand return, but ended up becoming the face of her struggles. It was Katy's attempt to revive her pop reign. But instead of breaking records, it broke her confidence. Critics were ruthless, describing the album as uninspired, forgettable, and even a misstep for a star of her caliber. Ouch! Fans weren't any kinder, with many saying the album lacked the spark that once made Katy a pop powerhouse.
He advised her against this album. She did it. Now, again, this album had a lot of problems, specifically the Dr. Luke of it all, the producer who was having so much accusations himself and with Kesha and everything else, and which Kesha says Katy knew, and then Katy basically was like, I don't care, I'm working with Dr. Luke again.
Adding fuel to the fire was Katy's decision to work with Dr. Luke, a controversial producer whose past scandals had already alienated a large part of the music community. For many fans, this partnership felt like a betrayal, reigniting debates over ethics and responsibility in the industry. The backlash was immediate and brutal. People weren't just skipping her album, they were actively criticizing her for going against the tide of public sentiment.
Apparently, she received little to no support from Bloom, who blasted the embarrassing debacle during Explosive Row.
Orlando, who had always been Katy's biggest cheerleader, reportedly saw this disaster coming from a mile away. He warned her repeatedly, insiders say, urging her to rethink the project. But Katy, ever the risk taker, didn't listen. She doubled down, pouring her heart into 143 in the hope that it would silence the critics. Instead, it became a commercial flop, and Orlando's frustrations grew louder.
Source close to Perry's camp told a Daily Mail, he said it was cringeworthy, embarrassing. This was in the middle of a fight.
And let's be real, the emotional toll was devastating. This wasn't just another bad album review. For Katy, 143 symbolized her attempt to prove she still had it. Watching it fail was more than a career setback. It was a hit to her identity as an artist. Insiders described her as heartbroken, struggling to reconcile the gap between her vision and the harsh reality.
Now, notice, in 9 years, I hadn't seen them together until she needed to launch this new album. I never really saw them, and instead, she was out there promoting the couple as much as the album. It was pretty awful.
But Katy wasn't ready to throw in the towel just yet. If the music wasn't speaking for itself, then she was going to make sure the world remembered her another way. Enter the publicity stunts, a series of cringeworthy moments that left fans scratching their heads and Orlando reportedly rolling his eyes.
Orlando has had enough, says a second source, saying that Bloom is annoyed that Perry was never listening to his advice. And then she started posting the rare Instagram of her shirtless fiance, right as her first single, Woman's World, one of the worst songs I've heard ever. Such a hypocritical, dumb song.
First up, the treadmill clip. You might remember it. Katy and Orlando jogging side by side on treadmills, with Orlando casually stripping off his shirt while Katy beamed for the camera. It was supposed to be playful and sexy, but it came across as forced and awkward. Fans were quick to point out that this wasn't the Katy they knew and loved. It was someone desperately trying to grab attention.
She hoped he'd be more supportive. So that's why she did it? She went to space to try to get Orlando more interested in her again?
And then there were the raunchy interviews. Katy made headlines for her over-the-top comments about her and Orlando's private life. One particular quote about her love language went viral, for all the wrong reasons. Instead of sparking excitement for her music, it left fans feeling like Katy was oversharing to stay relevant.
Yikes, the desperation is real, I guess. She needed more attention, so she decided to post her husband working out privately on Instagram. This feels very like Jada Pinkett Smith to me. Like, hey, honey.
Perhaps the most painful part of all this was watching Katy use Orlando as part of her promotional strategy. From red carpet PDA to candid Instagram moments, it felt like their relationship was being paraded around as a marketing tool. For Orlando, who's known to be fiercely private, this was reportedly a major source of tension. Insiders claim he felt exploited, pushed into the spotlight for reasons that had little to do with their actual love for each other.
To all the internet and fans, it was just a dumb choice to go back to Dr. Luke.
Fans couldn't help but feel conflicted. On one hand, they wanted to support Katy, a pop icon who had given them hits like Firework and Roar. But on the other, they couldn't ignore the growing sense of desperation in her actions. Viral moments like these weren't bringing Katy closer to her audience. They were alienating her from the very people who had championed her career.
There's one more quote I'm looking to. Katy has not been the same person for over a year now, and Orlando has had enough.
And for Orlando, these stunts were reportedly the final straw. He had stood by Katy through ups and downs, but the relentless use of their relationship as a PR machine only widened the cracks between them. Sources say he grew increasingly distant, frustrated by what he saw as a lack of authenticity.
I'd never really seen them together. And then as she's promoting this album, he was everywhere. She was using him, bringing out Orlando Bloom, Legolas himself, and Jack Turner, Pirate of the Caribbean, to use this. Katy is seeing that she may not be able to recover from all this, and she's blaming everyone but herself.
It's one thing to have a rough patch in your career, but it's another to let it bleed into your personal life. For Katy, the lines blurred, and the results were messy, professionally and personally. 143 wasn't just a failed album. It was the catalyst for a series of events that left both Katy and Orlando questioning everything about their lives together.
Look, I have no disrespect. Is Orlando Bloom still like a thing? Do all you guys still really like him? I mean, I respect the guy of his work. He hasn't really done a lot more recently.
While Katy Perry was grappling with a whirlwind of career struggles and public scrutiny, Orlando Bloom seemed to take a completely different path, one that involved jumping out of planes and dangling off cliffs. His 2024 docuseries, To the Edge, showcased him performing death-defying stunts like skydiving and free climbing. For Orlando, this wasn't just about adrenaline. It was his way of proving that he still had his edge, literally and figuratively.
This was a train wreck in slow motion. Everyone saw it coming, but it was ultimately her idea to hire Dr. Luke. Insider continued, she has tried to sell it with her sexuality and use Orlando to promote it with jokes about their ex-life. Also true from that.
Katy, on the other hand, was a nervous wreck. Publicly, she cheered him on, telling interviewers how proud she was of his bravery. Privately, though, she was reportedly begging him to stop. Insiders claim she feared for his life every time he strapped on a harness or climbed into a plane. For someone already dealing with immense stress, the thought of losing her partner to a reckless stunt was unbearable.
So he's very private. There's not a lot of stuff about Orlando, but he did step up when she needed him. He's all over the press, holding hands in the announcements and being there to make out at the MTV show and as she did her show, which I'll give her credit. That was a pretty good montage of her past work.
And while Katy's concerns were valid, Orlando saw things differently. To him, these stunts were a form of escape. They allowed him to push his limits, both physically and mentally, a stark contrast to Katy's very public battles with self-image and career setbacks. The emotional divide between them grew deeper with every free climb and parachute jump. Orlando's thrill-seeking highlighted the differences in their values. He sought adventure and simplicity, while Katy was tangled in the complexities of fame and reinvention. Some insiders even suggested that Orlando's adventures became a metaphor for their relationship. While Katy was trying to fix what was broken, Orlando seemed to be looking for a way out. His stunts weren't just about personal growth. They were a way of distancing himself from the chaos that had come to define their partnership.
And he's insistent that he goes, which annoys her because he's not particularly close to either of them. She feels like it's an FU to her from him. I buy that. Why is he going?
Then came the Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez wedding, a luxurious event so grand it could have been mistaken for a royal coronation. It should have been a moment for Katy and Orlando to put on a united front, but instead, it turned into a high-profile symbol of their fractured relationship.
She will be on tour in Australia, which she announced months before the date was announced. Katy feels like they're really her friends more than his.
Katy didn't attend. The official reason? She was tied up with her tour in Australia, which had been scheduled long before the wedding date was announced. But sources close to Katy say there was more to the story. She felt betrayed that Orlando decided to attend without her, especially during a time when her career was hanging by a thread.
It's difficult for her to accept. They've already spiraling, and now the wedding is another thing that they have to fight about, which apparently they are. Comes at this time when she's having, so much trouble on the internet and with her tour tickets, etc.
For Katy, this was a personal and professional blow. While she was battling criticism over her failed album and controversial stunts, Orlando was out there mingling with the Hollywood elite. The event wasn't just a wedding, it was a networking gold mine. And seeing Orlando cozying up to Jeff Bezos, the very man behind Katy's infamous space trip, felt like a slap in the face.
I buy that. Why is he going? Because he wants to go hook up and connect with all the Hollywood people. That's why. What really stings is the hypocrisy. He complains about her going to space, and then he wants to go to the wedding of the people who made it possible for her to do this in the first place.
And then there was the hypocrisy. Orlando had criticized Katy's space trip as cringeworthy, yet here he was, rubbing elbows with the people who had made it possible. The irony wasn't lost on Katy, who reportedly saw this as yet another sign that their priorities were worlds apart. The wedding became a turning point, a public display of everything that had gone wrong. While Orlando was photographed looking dapper and carefree, Katy was left to deal with the fallout of her career and their relationship. The event highlighted the growing emotional distance between them, making it clear that their paths were no longer aligned.
It's too much. Anyway, this is all part of it. This is all part of it. Yes, they're happy, and you should be happy with your partner and show off your partner, etc., but the timing of it all felt very manipulative.
For fans and insiders alike, this marked the beginning of the end. Orlando's adventurous spirit and Katy's struggles to stay afloat created a rift that no amount of love or history could bridge. Their once golden partnership had become a cautionary tale, played out on the world stage for everyone to see.
And now he's out there embracing bachelor vibes in pajamas with Bezos. That's what he did on the treadmill, too.
Life as a single parent wasn't exactly on Katy Perry's 2025 bingo card, but here she is, juggling her pop star persona with the very real chaos of raising 4-year-old Daisy Dove, all while the world watches and critiques her every move. And let's not sugarcoat it, Katy is struggling. Gone are the days of glamorous red carpets and carefree family photos. Now, it's school runs, tantrums, and trying to salvage what's left of her career while dodging judgment from every corner of the internet.
They have no problems. They have nothing in their lives that they consider to be of value. And what's amazing to me is that it seems like Hollywood knows what time it is, even if these 5 women didn't, right? Like, you really did see people coming out and being like, what the heck is this?
Well, let me show.
Of course, this is Katy Perry, so the drama is cranked up to an 11. On one hand, she's trying to be supermom, shielding Daisy from the fallout of a high-profile breakup. On the other, she's battling the crushing weight of public scrutiny. Fans want the firework Katy back, but Katy herself? She's barely keeping the lights on. Insiders say she's emotionally exhausted, torn between being the mom Daisy deserves and the pop star the world demands.
From where Orlando stands, all he ever wanted was for Katy to be herself, the source continued. He fell in love with her and who she is inside, but this past year, he believes, has brought out the worst in her.
And let's not even start on the heartbreak. Katy's vision of a picture-perfect family has been shattered into a million little pieces. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She had the ring, the kid, and the fiancé, everything she'd dreamed of. But now, it's just her and Daisy, trying to navigate a reality she never wanted. Romantic bliss turned into an emotional train wreck faster than you can say, teenage dream.
Why so many on the left and the right had a visceral reaction to this.
As if that weren't enough, let's add the peanut gallery to the mix. The internet, in all its glory, can't seem to decide whether to rally behind Katy or drag her further into the mud. For every fan cheering her resilience, there's a critic dissecting her parenting or blaming her career choices for her current state. It's like a digital courtroom where Katy's life is Exhibit A and the jury's still out. And then there's the meltdown. Oh yes, let's get into that. Insiders paint a grim picture of Katy Perry 2025, a pop star who's spiraling faster than a viral TikTok trend. She's not the same person she was even a year ago, they whisper dramatically, as if that isn't painfully obvious. Between the flop that was her 143 album and the epic collapse of her engagement to Orlando Bloom, Katy's confidence is circling the drain. Her public missteps? Just the cherry on top of this disaster Sunday.
He advised her against the album, and he produced the bulk of that album. Orlando apparently also advised her against space. She did it. He advised her against this tour, and she did it.
Speaking of Lunchroom 43, the less said about that, the better, right? Critics roasted it, fans ghosted it, and Katy, she's left clutching the wreckage, wondering where it all went wrong. The album wasn't just a career misfire, it was a sucker punch to her self-worth. Every bad review and canceled concert ticket was like salt in the wound. And let's not forget Orlando. Before he bolted for a life of death-defying stunts and Bezos wedding shenanigans, he reportedly tried to stage an intervention. "Slow down and be yourself," he begged. But did Katy listen? Of course not. She was too busy trying to prove she could still outshine everyone else. And when Orlando finally threw in the towel, it wasn't just a breakup. It was a full-on reality check.
And they also go on to say that he's now heading off to Venice, going to the Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez wedding. And that is going to be his debut as a single man.
But Orlando took it as an opportunity to, single it up.
Katy's every move has been scrutinized, with some saying she's to blame for the implosion. After all, she was the one jumping into space, releasing a flop album, and dragging Orlando into awkward publicity stunts. On the flip side, Orlando hasn't escaped criticism either. His post-split Bachelor vibes have gone viral, with paparazzi shots of him strolling through Venice and rumors swirling about a potential connection with Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney. Spoiler alert, they were just standing next to each other, but hey, that's enough for the internet to lose its collective mind.
We made fun of it on Monday because it was just so ridiculous the way some of the media were covering it, the way they were like self-congratulatory. They've gone next level.
Fans are divided, and the debates are fiery. Some argue that Orlando abandoned Katy when she needed him most, opting for daredevil stunts and networking at Jeff Bezos' wedding instead of standing by her. Others claim Katy's relentless pursuit of attention pushed him away, leaving him no choice but to check out emotionally and eventually physically.
To have been granted this utterly vacuous experience from which they learned absolutely nothing.
Shoot it into my veins.
This is the Democratic Party.
And let's not forget the memes. Katy's infamous 11-minute space trip has become the internet's favorite punching bag. Every detail, from her desperate PR stunt to Orlando's alleged eye rolls, has been turned into meme gold. Meanwhile, think pieces are popping up faster than a Katy Perry costume change, analyzing every tweet, interview, and Instagram post for hidden meaning. But the real kicker? Every time Katy or Orlando makes a public appearance, it reignites the circus. Whether it's Orlando posing for photos at a Hollywood event, or Katy trying to hold it together on stage, the narrative of their messy split gets another chapter. It's a never-ending loop of speculation, judgment, and, let's be honest, sheer entertainment for the masses. So, what does all of this actually mean? Well, for one, it's a harsh reminder of what happens when fame collides with personal relationships in the digital age. Katy and Orlando's story isn't just about two people who fell out of love, it's about the toxic intersection of celebrity culture, social media, and the relentless pursuit of relevance.
Now, Katy has fans, the fans of Katy are convinced that she was alluding to it last year on her latest album. Okay.
One of the biggest lessons here? Be careful when using your personal life as a marketing tool. Sure, those cute Instagram posts and red carpet PDA moments might boost your brand in the short term, but they also invite public scrutiny when things go south. Katy learned this the hard way, with fans dissecting every aspect of her relationship with Orlando to figure out what went wrong.
All I know is Katy is having a bad year. I don't want to pile on. But I am legitimately curious. Was he out there, or is this PR on his sake to try to look better? Is Katy Perry going to start coming out?
And then there's the cost of chasing the spotlight. Katy's relentless drive to stay on top, whether through ambitious albums, outrageous stunts, or headline-grabbing interviews, has taken a toll not just on her career, but on her personal life. Fame might bring fortune, but as Katy's story shows, it can also bring isolation, heartbreak, and an unrelenting spotlight that never seems to dim. But let's not count Katy out just yet. She's faced challenges before, and while this is arguably her darkest hour, it's not impossible for her to bounce back. The road to redemption won't be easy, it never is in Hollywood, but Katy's resilience and talent give her a fighting chance. Fans are rooting for her to reclaim her crown, rebuild her life, and most importantly, find peace amid the chaos. Katy and Orlando's saga is more than just tabloid fodder. It's a cautionary tale. It's a raw, unfiltered look at the price of fame. If this story has you hooked, be sure to like and subscribe.